When you stand at the edge of Hero Square, the Museum of Fine Arts demands your attention. Its neoclassical portico and massive Corinthian columns look like a temple built to intimidate. Stepping inside requires about $20 for a ticket, but the real cost is time. A proper visit to this building consumes 3 to 4 hours of your day. That time commitment is due to the sheer volume of the collection. The artifacts housed here span from ancient Egypt to the 1800s, covering thousands of years of human creation across multiple continents. The question isn't whether the art inside is worth seeing. It is. The question is whether an encyclopedic art collection belongs in your tightly packed vacation schedule. Making that decision means ignoring the marketing brochures. You have to match what the museum actually offers to your specific travel constraints. The first thing you need to know is the museum's foundational curatorial rule. This collection is dedicated exclusively to international, non-Hungarian art. If you want to see Hungarian painters and historical pieces, you are at the wrong building. That collection lives across the river at the Hungarian National Gallery. To understand why, you have to look back to 1906. The Austro-Hungarian monarchy built this institution to prove Budapest could stand shoulder to shoulder with Vienna and Paris as a global cultural capital. They wanted universal masterpieces. Because of that focus, spending an afternoon here comes with a heavy opportunity cost. The hours you spend looking at Italian and Dutch paintings are hours you cannot spend soaking in the thermal baths or exploring Budapest's localized history. Stepping through these doors is a deliberate choice. You are prioritizing universal European heritage over immersing yourself in Hungarian culture. If you do enter, the ground floor offers a specific viewing strategy. Down here, the architecture itself serves as the primary artwork. The Renaissance Hall mimics an Italian palazzo courtyard, complete with arched windows and classical frescoes. You can absorb the aesthetic without having to stop and read tiny placards. Moving left brings you to the Romanesque Hall. It is a massive, almost 900 square meter space built to resemble a medieval cathedral. For 70 years, this stunning room was locked away, used as a storage unit for plaster casts. That closure was a direct result of the Second World War. The museum suffered severe structural damage, leaving the hall unusable for decades. Today, touring these ground floor halls gives a high visual reward with very low mental fatigue. It is the ideal route for a quick, impactful visit. Upstairs, the experience shifts. The museum's world-class status rests heavily on the Esterházy collection, a massive trove of art acquired by the Hungarian state in 1871. This acquisition anchored the Italian Renaissance section. It holds the museum's crown jewel, Raphael's Esterházy Madonna, painted around 1508. The geographic diversity expands into Northern European masters. You'll find intricate, sprawling scenes like Peter Bruegel the Elder's The Sermon of St. John the Baptist. The galleries also feature rare Renaissance bronzes, including a dynamic equestrian statuette that experts attribute to Leonardo da Vinci. Viewing these pieces here is entirely different from trying to see them in Western Europe's mega-museums. If you attempt to see similar masters in Paris, you face the exhausting, crushing reality of battling thousands of tourists just to get a clear line of sight. This wing delivers elite, world-class artistic clout, giving you intimate viewing access to history's greatest painters, entirely free of the competitive crowds found in Paris or Rome. The most prestigious section of the museum is its Spanish collection. It ranks as one of the most significant, uninterrupted surveys of Spanish art outside of Madrid. The galleries feature heavyweights like Velázquez and Goya, tracking the evolution of the region's artistic output. But the standout works belong to El Greco. His portrait of Saint Aloysius Gonzaga demonstrates his distinct, spiritually intense style, marked by elongated figures and vibrant, almost electric color palettes. By the time you reach these Spanish masters, museum fatigue usually sets in. Appreciating these works requires a slow, contemplative pace that drains your energy reserves. For dedicated art aficionados, this wing provides the ultimate return on investment. For casual tourists, this is where you should plan your exit. If you bypass the upper floors and head down to the basement, you enter a completely different environment, the Egyptian Antiquities collection. This wing is expansive. With nearly 4,000 items spanning daily life, divinity, and the afterlife, it is the second largest collection of its kind in Central Europe. It leans heavily into interactive, family-friendly elements. You'll find mummies, intricately painted sarcophagi, and a discovery room where kids can decode hieroglyphs. Touring the basement requires a mental context switch from the solemn, fine arts aesthetic of the floors above. It functions best as a high-engagement detour for families. To survive the museum's sheer size, you need a customized itinerary strategy before you walk inside. Route 1 is for the tick-the-box tourist. This strategy requires bounding your visit to a strict 60-minute limit. You walk the ground floor halls, take in the grand architecture, and deliberately ignore the deeper historical placards. You preserve your energy, but you leave without seeing the Raphaels or El Grecos upstairs. Route 2 is for the art aficionado. This path requires a dedicated 4-hour block of your day. You get an uncrowded masterclass in European painting, studying Velázquez and Bruegel up close. You pay the steep cost of missing other major Budapest landmarks that day. Establishing your specific visitor profile before you buy a ticket is the only way to prevent the museum's immense volume from dictating your vacation. Keep your geographic context in mind. The museum sits right at the gateway to City Park. Right behind it are competing attractions like Vajdahunyad Castle and the Széchenyi thermal baths. They require the exact same physical energy you might burn looking at paintings. The Museum of Fine Arts delivers an elite, high-value experience. But that value only materializes if a deep dive into international art aligns with your personal travel goals. In a city as rich as Budapest, the most successful travelers actively curate their itineraries. They decide what to skip, rather than letting the sheer volume of history decide for them.